Gundam.tk presents Core Booster. Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184 Gundam.tk, and I'm here to wrap up my review of the Master Grade version Katoki. In this case, we've got the V-Gundam, but of course I'm talking more about the Core Booster. Don't forget to check out the earlier parts and you can see the details, but now it's time to hear the positives and negatives. So right now, as it's folded up into Core Booster, let's talk about some of the negatives. The big thing for me, of course, is the bad joint, and I had bad luck as soon as I put it on, and it's only gotten worse to the point now that it's almost unusable. You have to pull it out, and I wonder how long I'm going to be able to keep those things hanging over the shoulders, because the idea is good. It bends out at a nice 45-degree angle, and then when you spin it around, but overall, a much more solid joint. They went for good looks with the joint because it's exposed when you pull it out, but at the end of the day, if it's not going to be solid, then what's the point? So already I've got one that works and one that doesn't, and I'm not too happy about that. The next thing is about the way it sits on the back, so if somebody can fix that for me, that would be great. That's a problem with version Ka kits, where they don't show you a whole lot of pictures. They don't show you a back shot of this thing at any point. And if they did, that would be good, because you can see when it's hanging at the back here, you can see on the old 1/100th the way it sort of juts out at the back. Is there a better way that you can bring it in? Because from the line art from the instruction manual, it seems that there is. The next thing is the weapons not being interchangeable. That's a big complaint for me. When I saw this huge load of weapons that they gave you, I expected that they would be able to go all over the place, because the V-Gundam has those red cool looking circles on the elbows, on the side skirts, and on the knees. And I figured that you'd be able to put 6 different weapons on there, which is not actually the case. And the main villains here in this case are the disposable bazooka, which you'd think you'd be able to put on somewhere else, but that doesn't want to work very well, and especially the missile pods. And really I wanted to go Zaku style and put those on the legs, and that just doesn't work. So unless you're going to keep this in Core Booster, you're going to have a few of these weapons that you don't end up using. Now, that to be said, the Core Booster does look pretty awesome when you've got that in, but then that brings up the other problem of the Smart Gun, which doesn't work with the action base underneath it here, which is pretty disappointing. The other weapon, the Javelin, well, it doesn't work very well in the manipulators, and it's a little bit dull, outside of the fact that they give it to you in multiple colors, which sort of saves it a little bit. Now, on the topic of the stand there, it's sort of disappointing that when you look at it, you've got 3 different colors. So you've got clear, then you've got the black part, and then you've got a gray part on there. Tiny little nitpicks like that, but if they had made that all one color, would have worked a lot better. Another thing is about these white parts that you have to pop on and off to put the weapons on. That can cause problems. If you're a pro painter, you won't have any problems, because all of those red circles that you have around the Gundam are all going to be painted. But when you have them on here, when you pop off the white part, you can pop off the red sticker. Now I've got a couple extras, so I can fix that, but I won't be able to do that for too long. Now, my final complaint, and this comes down to whether you buy the Core Booster or the V-Gundam set itself, is going to be not against this kit. I like this kit, but it's the V-Gundam, and it comes down to its horrible posability and its finickiness. Basically, because you have a lot of weapons, there's a lot of different poses you can do, but because of the poorness of the Gundam, there's not a lot that you are going to want to do, because you're going to have parts falling off the V-Gundam all over the place. Everything is going to get out of the way. And of course, I complained about that at length during its review. Transforming Gundams, especially only a 15-16 meter Gundam, you know that's going to happen. So I accept the trade-off, because it does look awesome. But it's not something that you're going to want to go and pose, which is too bad, because with all these cool weapons that they give you, it's something that you thought you might want to do. So not a knock against this, but a knock against the Gundam itself. Now to move on to the positives though, and there are quite a few of them. And first of all, I have to apologize that even though I'm reviewing the Core Booster, I'm treating this whole thing as more a V-review, because anybody who's going to buy it today is probably not going to buy it separately like I did. Now anyway, on to the positives. First of all, the looks. And in this one, I'm going to talk about both. The Core Booster looks fantastic, and it's these tiny little details like the yellow up on the shoulders, the red tip, or the yellow tips on the wings, the red tips at the front and the back, etc. And just the details that they put into the end of the cannons, that for me makes the Core Booster look fantastic. And just as a vehicle by itself, if I bought that only by itself with no extra weapons, and it came with one core fighter, I'd be happy with the way the core booster looks. Now, when you combine that to make the V Gundam, which I always think looks very cool in a classic way, and then add on that much size and heft to the top of the shoulders and weapons, bang, you've got a winner. The looks look fantastic. The build was interesting. I enjoyed pretty much everything along the way. I enjoyed the ingenuity inside the weapons and outside of the one horrible joint that I mentioned before. I'm happy with everything else when you're putting that together. Now, in terms of other weapons, I do like 3 of them quite a bit. The Beam Smart Gun comes with an incredible transformation, looks really good. The clear parts, the little details like the way it's got these little ribbed effect down along the wet part, that's great when you're sliding the handles up and down. The Gatling gun is a lot of fun with its transformation, and it works well with both the Gundam and the core booster, which you can't say about some of the other weapons. And finally, my sleeper hit is the beam cannons. And it's because they have the color of the white and the blue on them, but the way they fit properly around that side skirt armor keeps them locked in place, and then just when you pop them open like this, everything looks all cool. And though it's a little bit hard to get the manipulators around there, they look awesome. And if you just had them standing there in the V-Dash Gundam, they wouldn't look out of place at all. And I hope they end up on the hips of the V2 Master Grade that we will get sometime. Now, the other thing that I really like about this kit is just simply the extras. From the details that they put in, like including feet for the Hexa. If you watch those openings and you see those blue feet, if you put blue feet on here, this guy would have a lot more color, especially if you took the white on the shoulders there. It would look very, very stylish and very less early 90s. Now, that's something you can choose to do as you please, but the fact that they give you the option, big plus. And let's not forget that you're going to get 2 new core fighters. So at the end of the day right now, you can have a fantastic display just with the fact that they give you the 2 core fighters, which they didn't necessarily have to do. And they give you an extra beam rifle, which again, I'm not really going to use, but if you wanted to make the full Air Force scene, you probably would. Now, another thing that you're going to get is the stand. And yeah, I've complained about the colors, but the fact that they give it to you and it works well for both a core fighter and the booster, big plus. And going back to the extras, the biggest thing for me is, of course, I display my Gundams as Gundams 99% of the time, but if you wanted to do the Air Force, the fact that they give you 4 core fighters makes that possible. So you can have a V Gundam head in the core top and in the core booster, have 2 hexas flying off or whatever, but you can make a huge Air Force that would rival Force Impulse in all 4 of its parts, because in this case, all 4 of them are going to have core fighters, which is the generosity, of course, that we're paying for in plastic. But Bandai, just the fact that they designed it that way, that you're going to get 2 core fighters with each, is awesome. So at the end of the day, should you be buying this? I'm going to say buy it. If you like the Victory Gundam, it has a lot of problems with the transformation, etc., but I'm not holding that against the core booster. The core booster by itself, if you bought it as a vehicle, looks great. And when you combine that with the Victory Gundam to add this much firepower to it, again, I think you're going to be quite happy with it. Although, you know, you have to add that caveat that I'm just going to have it sit there with the cannons on and do nothing else, because any other poses is just going to end up with a whole bunch of parts falling off and frustrating me. But if you're happy with the way the core booster looks or the way the V-Dash Gundam looks in that single pose, I say go for it. So that's just me, of course. Why don't you let me know what you think of both the mobile suit and the video itself with a comment down below. Like if you do, don't if you don't, and tell me, as always, what you think. It's always great to hear from you. Robert184, thanks for your patience for this review. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time, everybody. I would totally make this guy a Hexa if I hadn't thrown out the head all those years ago.